What began as a typical late-night interview took a jarring turn when legendary action star Sylvester Stallone abruptly walked off the set of Jimmy Kimmel Live, leaving both the audience and the production crew in stunned silence. The moment was captured in real-time raw, unedited, and unmistakably real. Stallone, there to promote his new series and reflect on his decades-long career in Hollywood, started the segment with his usual charm, trading jokes with Jimmy and reminiscing about his Rocky and Rambo days. But the energy in the room began to shift when Kimmel brought up Stallone's personal life with an unusually sharp edge. "You've played all these unbreakable guys," Jimmy began, "but your ex-wife said in a podcast last week that you were more emotional than people think right a lot, even during arguments. Is that true? Or is she just trying to rewrite the legend?" The audience gave a nervous chuckle. Stallone's smile tightened. "You know, there's a difference between being emotional and being disrespected," he said, his voice measured, but unmistakably tense. Kimmel, perhaps sensing the discomfort but pushing anyway, added, "Well, you did leave a note for your dog when you went to film Creed 2. I mean, come on, Sly, that's kind of adorable. Or kind of dramatic." Stallone leaned forward, no longer smiling. "When you've lost as much as I have, you don't joke about who you say goodbye to," he said flatly. There was a pause just long enough for the air to thicken before Kimmel, in a failed attempt to steer things back into comedy, said, all right, no need to put me in a headlock." That was it. Stallone took off his mic, looked directly at Kimmel and said quietly but clearly, "You went too far." With that, he stood up and walked off stage, leaving Jimmy frozen and the audience in stunned silence. The camera lingered. For a moment, unsure whether to cut, Kimmel chuckled awkwardly, then said, "Well, I guess we'll be right back." But the damage was done. Then the internet was already exploding, asterisk. By the time Jimmy Kimmel Live returned from commercial break, the clip of Stallone's dramatic exit had already gone viral. Social media erupted into chaos, with hashtags like #StalloneWalksOut, #KimmelTooFar, and #RespectSly dominating trending lists across platforms. Millions watched and rewatched the moment, an icon of strength and stoicism standing up, not for theatrics but for dignity. Reactions were swift and deeply divided. Supporters of Stallone praised his composure and boundaries, with one tweet reading, "This man gave us 50 years of grit, heart, and honor. If he says you crossed a line, you crossed it." Others accused Kimmel of turning vulnerability into mockery, suggesting that his brand of comedy, while usually harmless, backfired when it collided with real, unresolved pain. Meanwhile, defenders of Jimmy argued that Stallone overreacted, claiming the jokes were part of the usual roast-style banter that late-night shows thrive on. But the context mattered. Stallone has always been more than just a movie star. He's a symbol. A self-made underdog whose most famous characters bled and broke and kept going. To see him walk away wasn't weakness, it was a message. Even the toughest men have limits. Entertainment outlets scrambled to cover the fallout. TMZ released behind-the-scenes footage of Stallone leaving the studio, jaw clenched, bodyguards flanking him as producers tried, unsuccessfully, to calm him down. Kimmel, uncharacteristically solemn during the show's closing segment, addressed the incident briefly. "I've always been a fan of Sly. I didn't mean any disrespect. Sometimes a joke doesn't land the way you think it will." But critics weren't satisfied. Think pieces appeared overnight. Variety questioned whether the comedic tone of late night television had become tone-deaf in the age of trauma-aware storytelling. Rolling Stone framed it as a moment of cultural reckoning. When a man like Stallone, who built a legacy on emotional resilience, walks away from a joke, maybe it's time we start asking what kind of jokes we're still making, suddenly. It wasn't just about a celebrity walking off a show, it was about masculinity, aging, grief, and how modern media still struggles to make space for men to be fully human. Asterisk, as the digital storm continued to swirl, Stallone himself remained publicly silent, at least for a few days. He was photographed leaving his gym in Beverly Hills, hoodie up, eyes hidden behind sunglasses, offering no comment to reporters shouting questions about the walkout. But behind the scenes, those close to him began speaking out. A longtime friend, who asked to remain anonymous, told Deadline, "This wasn't just about a joke. Sly's been through a lot in the past few years. Family loss, career pivots, personal struggles. He's a tough guy, sure, but even tough guys carry grief. That grief was no secret. Stallone had lost his son Sage in 2012, a wound that never quite healed. And sources close to the actor said that Jimmy's comment about him being too emotional struck closer to that scar than most people realized. Within days, a groundswell of support emerged not just from fans, but from fellow actors. Dwayne Johnson tweeted, "Sly paved the road we all walk on. He's earned respect, not ridicule." Arnold Schwarzenegger, long viewed as both rival and friend, posted a photo of them from the 80s with the caption, "There's a line. Jimmy crossed it." Proud of Sly for walking tall, and the conversation was no longer about an awkward TV moment. It had evolved into something larger, a cultural reckoning with how society treats older men who show emotional depth, especially those from generations raised to suppress vulnerability. Stallone had always carried that duality as characters. Bled and broke bones, but they also cried, mourned, and loved. And now, in real life, that same duality was playing out in real time. His silence became a kind of statement of rejection, of forced explanation, a refusal to feed the media cycle with sound bites. Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel faced growing scrutiny, not just from viewers, but from within Hollywood itself. ABC executives reportedly met behind closed doors to discuss the incident, with some insiders suggesting future guest interviews might need a new vetting process. While Jimmy maintained a calm public front, sources claim he was shaken by the backlash, especially given his admiration for Stallone. Regardless of intent, the damage was done. And as millions debated what happened that night, one thing was certain. Stallone's walkout wasn't a meltdown, it was a masterclass in quiet resistance, a refusal to let pain be turned into a punchline. Days. After the storm first hit, Sylvester Stallone finally broke his silence not with a televised interview or flashy press release, but with a simple, heartfelt message posted to his Instagram. The image was black and white, showing a young Stallone. On the set of the original Rocky, gloves laced, head bowed. The caption read, "Respect isn't earned on set, it's earned when the cameras aren't rolling. I've always believed in standing tall, even when you feel small inside." That night wasn't about ego, it was about knowing when something stops being funny and starts being personal. The post racked up over 4 million likes in 12 hours and was met with an outpouring of supportive comments from both fans and fellow actors. For many, it served as the final word on the matter, a quiet but powerful reminder of Stallone's emotional intelligence beneath the muscle-bound mythos. Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel's team scrambled to control the narrative, according to sources. At ABC, internal divisions were growing between producers who believed the joke went too far and those who argued it was taken out of context. In an uncharacteristically serious opening monologue a few nights later, Kimmel addressed the controversy head on. "I've always admired Sly not just as a movie star, but as a man. I thought we had a rapport that could handle a little ribbing. I misread the moment, and for that, I apologize." The apology drew mixed reactions. Some viewers appreciated the honesty, while others felt it came to late more damage control than contrition. In the court of public opinion, however, Stallone had already won the narrative. Clips of his walkout were being remixed into TikToks about setting boundaries and walking away with class. Think pieces and outlets like The Atlantic praised his actions as a rare example of emotional maturity in a media landscape that too often rewards performative outrage over dignified silence. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The man once stereotyped as a grunting action hero had just given the world a lesson in restraint. No shouting, no name-calling, just a simple act of refusal. And in doing so, he redefined toughness for a new generation. Not as domination, but as self-respect. Not as bravado, but as grace. For once the fight wasn't in the ring, it was in knowing when to leave it entirely. Asterisk.